with 3 points of contact, the first thing you will do is put on your seatbelt, of course. Now, most likely, the inspector you'll be sitting by yourself waiting for the inspector while they check your paperwork. The keys will be inside, but touch nothing other than your seatbelt and adjust your seats. Once they come in, they'll let you know you can begin. The first thing you will tell them, I will start my pre-trip with a safe start. But first, I'm going to chalk my wheels. I'm going to take the key out. I'm going to unbuckle my seatbelt. Of course, put the key in my pocket, and then I'm going to chalk the driver's side tire. So I'm going to put both chalks, one in front and one behind, so you can just sit right there. Alright, I'm going to continue my pre-trip by starting a safe start. First, I'm going to cycle my gauges. My ABS light came on and off, which means it's working properly. My shifters are neutral, my valve is out, and we're going to check that the air pressure is at 90 and below. Right now it's above 90, so I'm going to pump it down to 90. Alright, good. So again, shifters are neutral, valve is out. Pressure's at 90 and below. It is safe to start. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to point to is my oil pressure gauge, which has risen within 3 to 5 seconds. If it didn't, I will shut it down. Right now it's reading around 60 psi and working properly. I'm pointing to my air pressure gauge, waiting for it to rise to 120 psi and above, or above. And I'm listening for the governor cutoff valve. So I'm just going to sit here and wait, unless the inspector tells me to rush it along. Alright. So just for example, I'll rush it along. That was my governor cutoff valve, letting me know my pressure is normal, tanks are full. I will now begin the first part of my air brake test, which is the applied brake test. First, I'm going to turn the truck off, one click. Turn it back on for the electricals, one click. Alright, and then immediately pushing the yellow valve. I will get the stopwatch. I don't know why somebody did that. Alright, make sure it's at 0. And I will tell the inspector I'm going to do my applied brake test by holding my foot on the brake pedal for 1 minute to make sure I do not lose no more than 3 psi. And when I'm ready, I'm going to hit the start button and the brake pedal at the same time, starting. So we're going to hold it down for 1 minute and 10 seconds, but we only tell the inspector 1 minute. Once it hits 1 minute and 10, we're going to release the brake pedal and hit stop on our stopwatch at the same time. Like that. And you will say, I held it down for 1 minute and I did not lose no more than 3 psi. I will now pump down to 60 psi to check my low air warning and buzzer indicator, and I'm going to do that with my hands on the steering wheel, and I'm going to keep pumping until the buzzer stays on. Alright. That is my low air warning and buzzer indicator, letting me know it's working properly. I'm now going to pump down to 40 psi and or below to check that my spring brakes is working and making sure that valve pops out. And I'm going to do that with my hands on the steering wheel. So here we go. The valve popped out, indicating that my spring brake is working. This concludes the first part of my air brake test. All right, I'm going to continue by chalking the wheels. First, I'm going to take the key, turn the key off, take the key out, put it in my pocket, unbuckle my seatbelt, and exit. All right, continue my pre-trip with another safe start. Shifter in neutral, valve is out. Pressure should be under 90. It is safe to begin. My ABS light came on and off, which means it's working properly. Safe to start. My oil pressure has risen within 3 to 5 seconds. If it didn't, I will shut it down. Right now it's reading around 60 psi and working properly. I am now waiting for my air pressure to build to 120 psi, and I'm listening for the governor cutoff valve. While I wait for the governor cutoff valve, I'm going to start my in-cab inspection. Side note for you, please follow my order and detail. Very imperative. All right, starting with my seatbelt. It's not ripped, it's not torn, it's in good condition, and it unbuckles and buckles properly. And it is also secured to my in-cab. Then I have my mirrors, not cracked, not broken, or side mirrors. They're securely mounted and adjusted to my driving. Good condition. After my side mirrors, I'm going to go to my windshield, and all of my windows are clean and clear with no more than 1 inch crack and no illegal stickers. My windshield and window seals are not ripped, torn, or frayed. Good condition, no signs of leaking. Then on my windshield, we have our wiper arms. Not cracked, not broken, securely mounted, and in good condition. We also have our wiper blades, not ripped, torn, or frayed, making even contact with the windshield and in good condition. And as you can see, my windshield washer fluid is filled, working properly, and cleaning the windows properly. Now, after I do my windshield and the wiper arms, wiper blades, and washer fluid, I'm going to move to my gauges. And I will start off by saying my gauges are properly illuminated. For each gauge, side note, I'm going to say 4 details. Working properly, no warning lights, what it does and what it's reading. For example, I have my water gauge. It's working properly, no warning lights. It tells me how hot or cold my engine is, and it's reading around 140 Fahrenheit. My oil pressure gauge is working properly, no warning lights. It tells me how much oil pressure I have in my engine, and right now it's reading around 60 psi. My fuel gauge is working properly, no warning lights. It tells me how much diesel fuel I have in the fuel tank, and it's a little under full. Volt gauge, working properly, no warning lights. It tells me how much volts I have going to the alternator, and right now it's reading around 14 volts. That was my governor cutoff valve, letting me know my pressure's normal, tanks are full. Going right back to my in-cab and gauges. We have air 1 gauge. My air gauge is working properly, no warning lights. It tells me how much air I have in my air tanks, and right now it's around 120 psi. After my gauges, closest thing to it is my indicators, starting with my hazard indicators. They are working properly. Left indicators working, right indicators working, and high beam indicators working. Okay. All right. After that, we have closest our 20-inch steering wheel that has no more than 2 inches of play. The city horn is working. From there, we go to our ventilation, starting with the blower. My blower is working, and all cycles of my blower is working. And then we're going to go to the defroster. My defroster, upper, mid, and lower vents are working, and all cycles are working. To the right, in our dashboard, we have 1 fuse for every major fuse, unless the truck comes with a circuit breaker. Above your head, we have 3 red reflective triangles that are secure my in-cab in case of a breakdown. In the rear, we have a fully mounted 10-pound ABC fire extinguisher, fully charged, up to date, and secure with a safety pin. Now, before I continue, I'm going to go over my order to make sure I did not miss anything. to the second part of my air brake test, which is the tug test. I'm going to test that my parking brakes are working by only putting my shifter in drive. Alright, it was a slight tug. Truck didn't go anywhere. That tells me that my parking brakes are working properly. I'm now going to test my service brakes by allowing the truck to move a few feet ahead. But I'm going to start by putting my foot on the brake so that we do not roll. Pushing in the yellow valve, waiting for initial drop of pressure. And then putting my shifter in drive, hands on the wheel, and slowly releasing the brake. Alright. That tells me that my service brakes are working properly. Securing the vehicle. Opening out the valve. Alright. Then turning off the truck. Take the key out. Making sure I'll put the keys in my pocket. Put my hazard on. Making sure my headlights are on. Alright. And then, of course, I'm going to wait for further instructions. Exit. Unbuckle my seatbelt. Exit with 3 points of contact. And that's it.